Welcome to another episode of SALEMA'S Slow Edits. A couple of weeks ago, I shared some reflections on Joseph Pilates' lifestyle principles and what they might teach us in a world that rarely slows down. I was quite amazed by the amount of responses and downloads, so this is a piece that follows on from that. In the previous piece, I wrote about the space that we seldom allow ourselves, the battle with this constant pull of distraction from social media, and the feeling that despite all our efforts to become healthier and more productive, many of us are left feeling increasingly disconnected from ourselves by pushing ourselves too much. As I say, the response was overwhelming. So this week, I want to talk about how we might not need more exercise, but what we actually need is to restore our attention. It reminded me that perhaps what so many of us are searching for isn't another exercise program, another wellness trend, or another way to optimize our life. Instead, perhaps we're searching for something much simpler: our attention. This is where our ideas come to life. There is no shortage of advice telling us, as we all know, how to become healthier. Walk 10,000 steps, lift heavier weights, run further, meditate, journal, take a cold plunge, stretch, eat this, avoid that. Every day we're presented with another list promising to optimize our lives. And yet what's missing is the individual attention. Yet for all the information available to us, many of us have never felt so disconnected from our bodies. Mainly because our attention is constantly being pulled elsewhere. Notifications often interrupt conversations. Meals are often eaten while scrolling or watching TV. Work follows us home. Exercise becomes another task to complete before moving on to the next thing. We're forever doing, but rarely are we in the moment and being. When I return to Joseph Pilates' writings, I'm always struck by how relevant they feel today, more so probably than when he first wrote them. Although he never experienced smartphones or social media, he understood something fundamental about human nature. Our greatest challenge is often not our physical ability, but our ability to pay attention. His method was never designed as a collection of exercises, but it was designed as a practice of awareness. Every movement asks us to notice: how are we breathing? Where are we holding unnecessary tension? Can we create effort without strain? And can we move with intention rather than habit? These questions are as relevant today as they were, like I said, when Joseph first developed his method. In many ways, Pilates becomes less about movement itself and more about reclaiming our attention. The cost of constant distraction. Attention has become one of our most valuable resources. Every app, every advertisement, and every notification competes for it. Without realizing it, we are all guilty, and we begin to live more externally, constantly responding to what demands our focus rather than consciously choosing where to place it. But Joseph invited us to do the opposite. When practicing his method, there is nowhere else to be. You cannot perform a classical reformer sequence while mentally writing tomorrow's shopping list. The work gently calls you back, again and again, where your breath becomes your anchor, your movement becomes your conversation, and your body becomes your teacher. This perhaps is one of the greatest gifts of the Pilates method. Not simply stronger muscles, but a quieter mind. The exercise isn't the goal. And one of the most greatest misconceptions about Pilates is that success lies in mastering increasingly difficult exercises, similar to yoga, really. But anyone who has studied either method for any length of time knows the opposite is true. For the more experience you gain, the more you return to the fundamentals. Excuse me. Footwork, the 100, roll up, leg circles. Exercises many people dismiss as basic becomes endless opportunities for refinement because attention changes everything. Your attention changes every time you repeat something. The feedback is different. The movement may stay true, but you don't. Each repetition offers another opportunity to notice something that you may have missed before. A little bit more length, a little less effort, a quieter shoulder, a softer jaw, a more complete exhale. The exercise hasn't changed, but your awareness has. And perhaps this is why Joseph Pilates famously said, change happens through movement, and movement heals. I often wonder whether the healing he referred to wasn't solely physical, but perhaps he was also speaking about what happens when we become fully present. Beyond the studio, mat, and apparatus. The longer I teach, the more I become to realize that yoga, as well as Pilates and very many other methods of movement, doesn't end when we simply leave the studio or the gym, the space that we practice in. Instead, its principles begin to shape how we live. We notice how we are when we're standing in a queue. Our posture, I mean. We breathe differently during stressful conversations. We may be more apt to setting boundaries with others, speaking our truth, and we become aware of unnecessary tension while driving. We choose to walk rather than rush. Therefore, Joseph's method gradually becomes less about exercise and more about paying attention to life itself. And perhaps, again, this is what Joseph Pilates was really offering. Not simply a stronger body, but a more conscious way of living. So why this matters more than ever? In a culture that celebrates speed, productivity, and constant stimulation, choosing to slow down can feel almost rebellious. Yet slowing down isn't about doing less. It's about noticing more. Real strength isn't found in how quickly we move. It's found in how deeply we connect with what we're doing. That, to me, is the enduring wisdom of Joseph Pilates. His method reminds us that our attention is not something to carelessly give away. It is something to cultivate and build upon and come back to. His method reminds us that our attention is not something that we should take for granted. It is something to cultivate. This is where, for me, these ideas come to life. And it wasn't until I began creating my retreat embodied chronology that I was simply not wanting to create a retreat that would just barely teach the reformer. Instead, I was trying to create the very thing I've been writing and speaking about here. I was thinking about space. Space to breathe, space to learn, space to return to the original principles of the method without distraction, a place to slow down, a place to pay attention, and not because we need more movement, but because we need to pay better attention to the movement we already have. Perhaps then this is where real transformation begins. To find a place where Joseph Pilates' original philosophy could be experienced and not just discussed. Set within the peaceful surroundings of Raco de Ata in Mallorca, the retreat has been designed to bring together focused practice, thoughtful conversation, and meaningful rest. Not as an escape from everyday life, but as an opportunity to return with a deeper understanding of both Pilates and ourselves. If these reflections resonate with you and you'd like to experience them in practice, I'll be more than delighted to welcome you to embody these teachings, not just practice, but the physical. And not just the physical, the mental. You can learn more about the retreat by clicking on the purple button in the post. Final reflection for you today. Where in your life could you replace more with deeper attention? I'd love to hear your comments, and thank you for reading, listening, and until next time, move with intention. Please feel free to drop a comment in the comment box below. Until next time.